Okay, thank you very much. Very great to be here, all the friends at the Asian Vision Forum. I want to begin by saying that I want to say I'm an old friend of Korea because in 2001, President Kim Dae-jung invited several youth from Asia Pacific region as the new Democrat leaders. I remember he was quite pro-democracy at that time. So I had a chance to visit the Blue House. I received a very famous Kim Dae-jung watch. And then I also have a picture which is in my house of me shaking hands with President Kim Dae-jung. So, for me, because I know Seoul and Korea at that time, so the keyword democracy is a very important associational term for me when I think about Korea. Secondly, before COVID, around 7-8 years ago, I also received the Korean Democracy Foundation Fellowship for a year. This was, the model is you spend a little bit time in Korea because Korea is quite expensive, but then throughout the year, you work on some research project. Again, it was something on democracy in Asia. Last but not least, I have been invited to the May 18 Gwangju Memorial Forum 2 times. My first time was in 2012, and then later I went again, maybe nearly 10 years later, one more time. So I have that kind of, sort of democracy connection with Korea, and that is why, I think for Asia Center and any other organization in Korea who share some similar topic, it doesn't have to be directly on democracy, so to speak, but just broadly, generally, it's about, human participation and agency in the world we lived in, basically. So that's my first point. So Asia Center is 10 years old. Asia Center is 10 years old. In June 2015, we were founded. So next June 2025 will be 10 years old. By December this year, we have 3 offices. We have one regional office that is nearly 10 years old. We have an office in Malaysia, which is about 6 years old on paper, but because half of the time it was shut because of COVID. Only this year we start to operate, and then early this year we opened an office in Cambodia. Our income, our combined income from the 3 offices in 2024 was $500,000, right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, $500,000. But it takes a long time to raise that money, and all of that money comes from project funding, right? I will discuss a little bit more about that, either online or offline, not a problem. Yeah. So I'll begin by saying why Asia Center was started. So I'm from the university initially. Right, and I work on international relations and political science, focus on Southeast Asia in particular. And I'm from Singapore, so at that time, the main university was National University of Singapore. There was also in Nanyang Technological University. So I'm familiar with the National University of Singapore as a student. But I want to kind of zoom up in Southeast Asia and just say my observation in Southeast Asia was whether it was public university or private university, the ability to discuss issue on politics, about issues of democracy and human rights was very little. There was very little room to discuss this issue. In the early days, it was okay. Actually, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I think, there was still some space. But over the years, the space has shrunk. In the old days, universities will sponsor conference venue. That they might even, offer you tea break, and you can organize activities on many, many topics. But nowadays, this is not possible. Public universities are probably more challenging because everybody is afraid of everybody else, so you can't organize anything that is called so-called sensitive. Private universities, they are focusing on engineering, computing, hospitality, and all of that. They have no space to discuss, democracy and human rights issue. So I found the university venue to discuss these issues are very, very limited. There are some individuals or individual scholars may be interested in discussing this issue, but their ability to do so is also limited because of bureaucratic structures. Sometimes, you disagree with your colleague and all of that. So that's one. My second career was with international organizations. I used to work with intergovernmental organizations and NGOs. Anything that has a vague sense of diplomacy, whether it's the UN, intergovernmental organization, diplomatic service and all of that, it's always very, very, neutral. They don't take sides. They don't discuss issues of democracy and human rights very clearly. So when I was working in these organizations, I found there was a severe limitation in discussing these issues frankly. And remember, what we want to do is to discuss these issues intellectually. We are not here to overthrow governments, disrupt, traffic and all of that. This is just, intellectual exercise to explore ideas and maybe give some kind of constructive solutions for society and policymakers to take on board, so the world can be a better place to live in. But yet, the ability and the space to discuss these issues are limited because the people's mindset is not right. They are afraid of this, they have some values, they say this is no good, So when I observed these two things, I realized, okay, if you work under a university or you work under, some kind of intergovernmental or governmental type of agency, you cannot do these issues and discuss them freely. So in order to do that, I decided that it has to be established outside of the premises and control of these two structures. So this is the first thing. Because in order to be truly independent, you must free yourself from any form of, connection or affiliation from that. So that's the first one. So that's more sort of political. The secondly is how do you pay for it, right? That's a big question, right? How do you pay for it? So I don't believe in begging, I think, even if you have small money, if you use your small money wisely, yeah. So I believe in the culture of giving rather than taking. So I decided that, in order to kick this off, I will not go and beg anyone for money. I will use what I have, and my resources are not very much, but I said I'll use what resources I have, I pull it together, and I had a plan. The plan was to invest in real estate. So I invested in 2 office spaces in Bangkok, and then a few years later, one in Malaysia, and then most recently, only this year, end of last year, I invested in Cambodia, an office space similar to this size. And I invested in the Thailand real estate even before I execute the plan. Because I think if you own your shop, nobody can ask you to move. This is important. The issue here is many people can give, or they have the ability. In fact, they probably have more resources than me. And remember, I invest in countries where the property price is quite low. But the people who don't have the ability to give. That's the advantage and the power I have over most people, because most people cannot give $100 freely, right? So that's the power, right? $100 we can give, but to give $1 million, that's different, right? So the capital, investment in the real estate across those 3 countries, right, is nearly equivalent to, I would say, USD 1 million. So that is the first investment. And then the second investment was for each of the offices. Of course, they are not done one time, they are done over the period of 10 years. The next investment I made is the interior. So to give you an example of the Asia Center in Thailand when we start. So after buying the office, I had rented it out first because, at that point, I bought the office in 2012 and then I started operation in 2015. For 3 years, I rented it out. At 2012, we were thinking about the strategy, planning and concept and all of that. Then after that, when we are ready, I again invested in the renovation of the office, put the partition, the carpet, some tables, some computers and all of that. And then I hired 2 staff. And I paid their salary for nearly 3 years. I was working full-time, I think the first 2 years as a lecturer and then 1 year as an international staff. So I spent nearly, between half to 30% of my salary paying for the staff, right? To build, because I have been working at universities and international organizations, I know you need runway. So if Asian Vision Forum is 4 years, I would say you will need 5 to 10 years before. You need 5 years to take off. At least 5 years. So slowly, don't run yet, just take a walk. And then so like I said, there's no revenue, right? I don't take a salary, so this is must be clear. I don't take a salary. I have some passive income, I have family members who help, but I don't take it's easier for me for fundraising also. And I meet partners, I say I don't take, they respect that, and then they're willing to give because they know you are doing this voluntary. So, and then so first is the real estate, second is the infrastructure, the renovation, the equipment and all that, and third is what I call the startup salary for the staff, right? So, when you do that, the first few years, right, nobody will come to you because the initial reaction that I got was skeptical. Can this work? You see, in any enterprise, right, it always works. In the end, it works as long as you have stamina and your resources to run 10 years. If you run for 10 years, you win, for sure. But you must stay afloat, right? So you must have the runway, the vision. You must know. When I begin, I knew I have to wait because I've already been working, and I have seen how organizations grow and so on. And I know if you are selfish, if you are a worker, you only need to take money, you won't make it. So I give, right? Then after that, have to wait. So in the beginning, nobody come to us. Very lonely. Office was very empty. But but we slowly promote, right? So in the beginning, we organize a lot of activities. People come, we offer some drinks, some cake. People come and all that. That is publicity, right? And the one who eventually come to us, and I will explain what we do later. Even interns, don't choose us. They only choose us as the last resort. So they will apply to the UN, they will apply to the international organization, they will apply to the university, because Thailand is very popular. I mean, of course, part of where you set it up is also strategic. It was very clear to me that if I wanted to set up a regional organization, it has to be Thailand. We have a joke. Indonesia should be the true regional capital of Southeast Asia. But the reason why we don't go to Indonesia, because Indonesia is not only corrupt, it's slow, it's huge, it's problematic. I know Indonesia quite well. I speak Bahasa. They are never clear. They don't talk straight. How to operate like that, right? Yeah. And if you open the organization there, it'll be full of Indonesians. So suddenly you will lose your identity. You don't have a regional mix. They over control everything. The real estate is not free, money flow is not free. So it doesn't work. Singapore wants to be the capital of Southeast Asia, but it's so expensive. Unless Singapore pay, nobody goes to Singapore. Singapore has to pay. Everybody wants to go. They want a job, they want education, all that, but only if it's free, right? So again, it's challenging. Thailand gives nothing to nobody. Thailand is an extracting economy, yet people go. They say the food is nice, the people are polite, So I know everybody will come. So I opened at the correct place, in Bangkok. So in the early days, what I used to tell my staff is, Asia Center is the center of last resort. They only come when they have nowhere to go. So interns apply to us because they want to go to the UN, international organization. They apply, nothing. They don't get it because competition is high. Then they Google Asia Center internship, then they apply. Now, in 10 years, we graduate nearly 70 or 80. Very popular, very strong. Now they apply directly to Asia Center. In the early days, when we apply for research work, we apply for grants, or word of mouth. Nobody comes. They give it to all the established organizations. But we also know that established organizations sometimes cannot deliver. They are overloaded, they don't have enough staff, all kinds of issues. So when their project is jammed, then they come to us. Last minute, with small money. And they say, can you do this quickly? And I tell my staff, we have to accept. We have to, work hard, work long hours in order to build the portfolio. So these are the kind of the early experiences of Asia Center, right? So what do? We do four things. We do research. Research is 50% of our work. Mostly we do baseline studies, policy brief, this, that, and the other. We do training. We design curriculum. All kinds of organizations, government agencies, NGOs, universities. It depends. It depends on the brief. Yeah. And then thirdly, we do what we call advocacy, because we have a UN ECOSOC status. So when Asia Center was about 4 or 5 years old, we were invited to apply for ECOSOC status. But I will go back and I will discuss this slide a bit later. I'll come back to it. And then the last thing we do is we do media promotion. Similar to you. We promote ourselves on social media and all that, and we are quite well known. And of course, we operate in English. Research is 50%, training and organizing events is about 30%, 10% is advocacy, and then 10% is about creating media content. What is the area we work in? Like I said, we position ourselves as a civil society research institute. This is very important. And I think this is where I'm coming to kind of talking about what you do. We are not a security think tank. We are not a geopolitical think tank. We are not a foreign policy think tank. We are not an economic or economic security think tank. Plenty around. In fact, there are too many. We are very special. We are a civil society research institute that focuses on democracy and human rights. We are very clear. We care for nobody's opinion. If somebody thinks what we do is dangerous or not good, we tell them, get lost. Because they don't pay our money. Yeah. So we have no fear. We know, we are very clear what we are doing. We have a market share. People want us because we are confident and we can attract the funds to do our work. So this business of, creating fear around issues related to democracy and human rights is an old style, right? When you talk to young people, it's not an issue, right? But if you are confident and you can carry the issue well, the market will come to you because they're quite clear that I can guarantee you, I'm in the business 10 years. There is market demand for this topic, for sure. And I can tell you, I raised $500,000 this year.
Oh.
Right? 2004. Next year is a different story. Every year is different. Right? But there is market share. Right? Yeah. But in order to attract work in this area, people must believe you are a Democrat. People must believe you are the person with the value, right? So you must carry the branding, the institutional branding and the branding of the leadership. It's very clear. Nobody doesn't doubt I'm a Democrat. Nobody, right? I carry it with pride and confidence, right? So I'm able to command, the respect, the market share, and the confidence to do this kind of work. And so we do the research, and then we use the research to make intervention in the UN Human Rights Council, UPR, so on and so forth. So let me then just step back a little bit in terms of the context. So you see, I put together, what you are doing, what we are doing is not unusual. The market has changed. Universities are dying. Universities are dying. In Thailand, right? If you look at my second set of information, in Thailand, in 5 years, 70%, 75% of the universities are at the risk of closing. South Korea, 50% may close in, 20 years.
Main driving force is different too.
Of course, every context is different, right? Every context is different. It would be one, age, the demography of young people going here. Another thing would be finance, the ability of the state or the private sector or the market to pay for it. But what is more interesting is the students no longer want to go to university. If you go to like in America, North America, or in Thailand, we have the data, obviously. Young people don't want to go to university. In countries in which the student has to work part-time to subsidize their cost of living and so on and so forth, the student is asking, why am I going to university spending 3 to 4 years listening to someone who I don't respect? Because when the young people is in the class, they are on their phone. They're not interested in what you're saying. They want an A, that's it. Because they come, they sit, they mark their attendance. And they have been told by their parents, and they know they are paying the fee. They are working part-time to pay their fee. They are working part-time to pay their rent. They are working part-time to eat. So if they go and spend 3-4 years, the degree is not getting them a job. You see? So they say, why should I spend 4 years growing old, learning next to nothing, and then yet I have to work to pay for this? I rather work, right? I rather work straight away, right? So that's where, I mean, this is a different discussion, of course, but I just wanted to show you this so that we have a sense of where the market is shifting, right? And where is our position in the market. That's basically why I share this information. We are not here to solve the university problem. That's a different consultancy. We can discuss that further. Secondly is, apart from faculty position, which you all know quite well, the other thing is think tanks are also losing their relevance. That's why I never use the term think tank when it comes to Asia Center. We use research institute. Okay, if I have a choice, I prefer to use the word knowledge hub, maybe. The role of the think tank, its credibility is affected because think tank is an artificial product. It's a product of the state and private donation. Unless the government put money into the building, into the expense, into the cost salary, think tanks cannot function. They cannot exist. It's a fake. It's an artificially constructed entity. And then add another problem. If government gives money, government will appoint people. So you have a problem where they speak among themselves. They rotate among themselves, they appoint themselves, and so on and so forth. Every country is like that. Whether it's on foreign policy or economics and so on. Or security. Security is also an important part. So these are state creations, right? So you can't say they are independent, right? And it depends on the different administration, right? As different administration come into power, they may increase or reduce the funding based on the priority of the foreign policy. So we did not want to be part of that. Okay, I think this is one slide ahead. I'll just still be here. Yeah. So in short, right? When here, good. So in short, because of the drop in research academic position in university and the drop in funding for think tanks are also what they produce is irrelevant. And the third thing is the notion of the expert is no longer relevant. You see, because in the old days, we have to study 15, 20, 30 years and then you become an expert. And then everybody invite you to talk about this. Now, no use. You can just Google everything. You don't need broker, you don't need specialists. If you are intelligent enough, you can assemble the information. So the role of the expert is also irrelevant. So you don't, at Asia Center, right, we never invite expert, waste time, waste money. We always invite the third level, fourth level, fifth level speaker and give them a break because they are grateful, you see. You invite them, you give them opportunity, they will come on time, they will prepare the research know-how. You invite the superstar, they will cancel you last minute and cost a lot of money and problems. So we never invite, waste time. Yeah. So, and then the last is because of these problems, the ability to do research and so on has been reduced, right? And and things like that. So, in this reduced market, what is the behavior? Okay. So, because of the collapse of the universities and the fact that think tank opportunities are less, and think tank opportunities only attract their own people, you suddenly have a lot of people who are unemployed or very, very available. So the first instinct for these people who are interested in research and intellectual work and all of that is they become consultant. This is a step I never take because I know it's a waste of time. Consultants don't make it because you are a one-man show. If you want to be a consultant and you want to earn money, run a family, and all of that, good luck. You won't make it. Because they can only pay so much for a consultant. And as a consultant, you only have so much capacity to do. You probably need 3 or 4 consultancy at the same time to get a normal salary to live for one person. But for you to do these 3-4 pieces of work, if you get it, is very, very challenging. So most of your individual consultants, have mental health issues, stress, this, that, and I'll give you an example. I was in Cambodia last week in Phnom Penh. I went to this very famous cafe called La Chronique. I was supposed to be there in the meeting with some partners. So I usually don't go to this kind of place, which is popular. But anyway, I went to meet, and I saw at least there were 8 people, on the laptop, having calls, looking very busy, very serious. Actually, I feel sad for them. There they are, they all look foreigner, yeah, for sure. They are not Cambodian, right? They're all there in Cambodia, 8 of them sitting in this La Chronique cafe, all having calls, My best guess, all working as a consultant because I know Cambodia quite well. And I turned around to my colleague and I said, difficult, cannot make it. It's nice when you're very young and dreamy and you want to try it, but in practical case it don't work. So, but we have this phenomena I call the rise of the individual consultant. A rise that wouldn't last very long. Most of them burn out, fail, depressed, all of that. The few who are successful, they have patronage. They have patronage, they are cronies. They are cronies for the government. Their political master will feed them. Contract, project. That's different. This one we cannot control. But these are not the independent professional ones. These are based on patronage. Very few. Then there is some effort to move from individual consultant to maybe more corporate entity, like a think tank. So what you are trying to do, what we have done. So I think this is where the challenge comes. Because you have 3 costs. One is your institutional cost, your building, right? 2, your operational costs, your internet, your phone, your laptop, your table and chairs. And 3rd is staff, right? So for all organizations that want to move and set up some kind of independent entity, these are the 3 things that would be of concern. The building. So Asia-Center approach was to buy its own offices. So we cleared the first problem. The second one is the what I call the operational cost, the laptop and all of that. Most donors will not give you money for a laptop, to buy a laptop, even if it's a 3-year project. Very seldom, right? And then you don't just. In fact, laptop and desktop is cheap. It's a software that is expensive. You need, Microsoft Office, Outlook, antivirus. You need design software. You need SurveyMonkey. You need, database, mailing list. You need, let's say, Microsoft Teams or Google package. One email is $5 a month. Your software cost already is more than your hardware cost. Then internet charge, electricity, all of that. So that's operational. And finally, staff. So in funding, almost all don't give core funding. The minute somebody give you core funding, they own you. Yeah. So many organizations like Asia Center, right? We are now operate only project funding, right? We have to manage. But there may be a time when somebody wants to offer us a core funding. It's a natural. After 10, 15 years, someone may say, okay, here's a good institution. We want to give it a push to grow. So we give you core funding 3 years or 5 years so that you can focus on other things. But if you take the money, they will have something to tell you how to move. So this is one issue. Many funders don't give you the operational cost. They ask you to pay for it. Staff costs is what they were willing to pay, but only a very small percentage. 30%, 40%, and very, very short time. So it is here that I think, those who want to build an institution face the challenge. Yeah. It's, the viability of paying all your bills. Yeah. So in order, I already discussed about this slide, you need a fixed financial model, a mixed financial model. You cannot rely on one person. I think you need to separate it in terms of your institutional costs, the office building and all of that, then operational costs, then staff costs. We do not believe working from home. Asia Center policy is not work from home, it's work on site. Because many people want to work from home, it's become a trend or a culture. So many people demand. So when someone apply for a job at Asia Center and they say, can we work remotely? We say, please don't apply. We are not that kind of organization because we want to compete. We want to compete and we need our people on time to be better than those who work from home. I can tell you because I'm in the business 10 years, right? Work from home is no good. It's not efficient. So it may be efficient for the individual, but not for the institution. Yeah. So for us, we need our people on site, right? So we can command, control, push, so we can compete, right? So, and then there are other challenges, right? What kind of people you want to recruit, right? Senior researchers and all that, very expensive because they have bills to pay, families to look after. This kind of organization cannot generate that income to pay that level of salary. So what is the solution? I think the solution is really, even for them, is a mixed approach. Yeah, you either hire young people, fresh graduates, early career, and who can grow with you, For the senior people, you need to have a couple, 2, 3, depending on how big your team is, and their role should mostly be like managers. And then you run with junior staff. So if you have 10 people, 3 should be senior, and the other 7 should be junior. Otherwise, you won't have the money to pay, and you won't have the right mix. If the whole team is senior, it won't work. Yeah, everybody will have their own opinion and all of that. And something like this, right? This is, it comes with experience and so on. Like when I started Asia Center, right? Of course, I didn't start alone. I had a few people, who shared a vision and all of that. And I remember one of the initial, working committee who was thinking about this idea, said to me, James, let's register Asia Center and let's set up a board of directors or advisors to guide us and control us on the direction. I said, nonsense. Why should I pay money to set up the Asia Center and then put a board on top of me to control me? I said, no, nonsense, get rid of it. So if you put in the effort, if you put in the money, if you put in the time, because for me time is money, you should be in charge, 100%, because it's your baby. If you start taking advice from people, advice is cheap, right? Yeah, so it's not the same as money, hard resources. So you have to make those kinds of decision, yeah. And it's it's a bit practical. Like I said, I'm a very confident person. I take those decisions. I move forward. I try to make something success. People who tell me it won't be success, I will say, well, good luck. You can try yourself. Because these are people who have not made it happen. They only have an opinion. They think they know how to do, but I have walked 10 years. I know what is done, and I can already see the window in front. And just to kind of wrap up, right? From the beginning, when I set up Asia Center, I anticipate the negative comments, skeptical comments, but I know it can be overcome. It's because it's based on experience, right? It's like, if you have done a bakery before, from this town and you move to a next town and you open a bakery, you know how to do it, right? It's the same, right? But at the same time, I prepare for expansion. You see, competition will kill you. Every day, I get an SMS, an email, or a request to visit. And everybody wants to know, what is the Asia Center formula magic? Yeah, magic. Yeah. I have visitors in Bangkok all the time. They want to know how it's done, right? It's hard work, right? But I also plan for expansion because in this journey, right, in 10 years, there are many people who want to follow the model, right? Many people have been inspired, and they will compete with you. They will try to eat your market share, but you can knock them out if you have expansion plan. If you say you want to compete with Asia Center in Bangkok, I will laugh. Because you need 10 years to catch up. But I'm already in 3 countries, right? I'm already thinking whether I want to have an office in Seoul. But because my friend Ho-Jae already opened the office, I like him a lot. So maybe not in Seoul. Otherwise I have to eat him, But maybe in Tokyo, yeah. I'm also thinking about South Asia, right? Maybe India, So it's truly Asia, right? And when you really have office in many countries, right, people believe. They believe. They believe you are real. You know, just like you, right? They walk into our office, they see the staff, they see the chair, they don't see one office, they see 3 offices, right? If I say to you, I am thinking about opening an office, let's say in Seoul, you will say, how? It's expensive, right? I can also tell you, tomorrow I will sign an MOU with the Korean Democracy Foundation, and they may host us as a representative office. Interesting, right? In India, several universities offer to host Asia Center. I said no, because if I become part of you, my identity dead, right? So you must, you know, if you have a vision, right, and you have vision in your name, you know, you must prepare for growth and competition. Yeah. So yeah, I took all of this, you know, forward thinking on board, right? And then also to hand over. So I tell myself I can do Asia Center another 10 years. Then after that I need to hand over, right? So that is kind of I only do one thing, you know. I only do Asia Center. In my bio, I remove everything. I remove where I study, I remove where I work, I remove all the other names. I work for Amnesty International IDEA, Friedrich Naumann Foundation. I went to, you know, PhD from Monash, Masters from, you know, Essex. I remove all of that because I don't want to share the Asia. I don't want my brand to be affected by these other brands, right? I don't mention where I work. So if you see my CV, you only see James Gomez, Asia Center. I only have one brand, right? That's all, you know. So I will pause here. I'm happy to talk some more. I can talk a long time, even without soju, but with soju I can continue.
Thank you for the insightful and